Alex, thanks very much for joining us. For those who don't know, just tell us a little bit about the company, MI, I guess the areas that you're operating in and what the strategy and service is.
Well, MI stands for Multiple Impact. It was founded by Ron van Lois. So what does MI do? As working for an investor, I have noticed that stakeholders are not always aligned. For instance, you have operators who have a different interest than developers or investors. Because there's sometimes a conflict of interest, a lot of value gets lost. So what we're trying to do is to give our best-in-class advisory and our knowledge and our experience in order to make sure that all these parties know what is market practice, to make sure that we can align everything together and build a product that is useful for the operator, is a good investment for the investor, and the development has still received a good margin in order to do a second or third project. What we're also trying to do is make sure that you have smaller operators. Some countries are not as mature as others. They still need to make a start in a pretty consolidating environment. And we have to make sure that they don't make mistakes, or else they will have to disappear or they might go bust. So also there is something where we're trying to put our knowledge straightforward to them, in order that they can grow at an easy pace.
Your focus obviously before was on the investment side, particularly in healthcare. Is this focused on alternative assets more generally? What's the expertise, I suppose, that you're bringing, Alex?
Well, the thing is, I have, of course, worked as an investor. So as an acquisition manager, the process of the investing opportunity is something that I've been doing for a long time. I think also when you look at contracting, I know what is market practice and what isn't. I think we should not lose ourselves too much in trying to ask whatever, but use more or less standardized contracts. I think using that knowledge is interesting for parties to make quicker deals, to make them also correctly, and not to scare people away, for instance. So I think that's one thing that I can bring to the table. I've done healthcare, but in such a way, all the processes are the same. So what we're also trying to do is focus not just on healthcare, but also look at alternative investment opportunities. That can also be social housing. It can be student housing. It can be any type that fits that class. What we're not going to do is go to warehouses or things like that. That's not our core business at the moment. And that's not where we're migrating to.
And do you expect to see this focus from investors on the alternative sector continue to grow, Alex? What's your sense of that in terms of the market?
Well, I think that the alternative sector is the one with the most growth potential. If we only look at senior housing numbers, they're going to increase rapidly until 2050, and then for a while they'll stay the same. So I think it's a very big growth market. When I started in healthcare real estate, it was also a upcoming class. It was not even a class by itself. Today we can see it's maturing. It's becoming a standalone class. You can also see that investors are trying to also put a part of their portfolio into healthcare real estate. So the game has changed completely. And as we look at our society as well, you'll see that the alternative real estate class in every way will take a bigger part in a society within the next coming decades.
Are you seeing big differences, Alex, in terms of, I suppose, Western Europe and then moving more towards CE markets, for example?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good question. We already have received some questions from CE countries regarding our mature healthcare market in the West. They wonder how we are organized. We have a lot of state funding that they don't have yet at this point. But also these countries have an aging population. And in the next 10 or 15 years, they will have to catch up with us. And what they're trying to do is the first initiatives that are taken there, they're trying to get our best practices, our knowledge, in order to arrange everything in a proper manner there. So also there is something where MI is trying to do a knowledge sharing and make sure that we can help them out.
In terms of MI strategy going forward, do you see this more as a kind of advisory consultancy, or will you begin to make investments? What's the overall strategy for the business?
Well, the strategy of the business is that we're trying to, with all the knowledge that we have in-house, to be a sort of boutique, a best-in-class advisory. I think due to all the know-how and individuals we have in our network organization, I think that is the best way to go. And our strategy is also always to create value. So we're trying to make sure that all the loss that is happening right now is that we can try and accumulate it and make sure that it's a success story.
Great. Really interesting to catch up and look forward to seeing how that business grows. Thanks very much, Alex.
Thank you very much.